and amigos, and welcome to Keyframers, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shashaw.
And I'm your host, David Khorshid, also known as @DavidKPiano.
And together we are coding compadres, animation amigos, Boolean buddies, and keyframe companions.
Yeah, so we're going to be creating an animation from scratch live using HTML, CSS, and a tiny amount of JavaScript. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have, so please reach out in the chat or the comments.
That's right. We're coming at you live on YouTube here, trying out the YouTube live streaming again. So let us know if this is a good platform for you guys. If you like that, I think this will work out nicely. So yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride. So what's going on today, David?
Not too much. Just another Monday in quarantine paradise.
Isn't every day Monday in quarantine?
Yeah, pretty much. Except the weekends; those feel like Tuesdays.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can make this kind of fun today, because we've got a nice little animation. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
So another Tubic design. I didn't realize that until now, but it's called Interior Design Project Website. So there's kind of a lot happening here, right? So,
oh yeah.
We've got so the initial like loading animation almost with the grid lines coming in, and then after those all fill out, there's actually like each of the little grid boxes that come in. So there's a lot going on there, but I think we can actually accomplish this pretty easily. You got it?
Really? You are quite confident. It's like you built a tool for this or something.
I am very confident.
Okay. Let's see what you got.
This is gonna fail spectacularly.
Probably.
So yeah, I'll move over into the code here. Let me pull something. So yeah, we've got our code here. Nothing really set up, just a few little starter CSS bits. But what we're going to do right off the bat. So let's say div equals app. I don't know why we always do that, but we'll have our app element that's going to be kind of our main container here. And what I'm going to use is a tool that I created, a little micro library called Splitting.js, and this is basically just a small library to split up text or elements or different things like that, and add CSS variables to it. So it's not an animation library, but it's a library that can help you animate. And one of the great things that it does is the splitting by cells. This is basically a way for splitting to generate a grid of cells for you. So see in the usage here, splitting, we've got image calls rows there. So let's do that for that main grid effect, not the grid lines yet. We'll tackle that after, I think. We'll tackle this first. All right, so I'll just go ahead and copy this, and then we'll actually need to pull that in from unpackage. So unpackage.com/splitting. If it ever loads. For now, drop that in there.
It's amazing. Splitting is good for 2D stuff. You gotta make it splitting 3D.
Splitting in 3 dimensions.
You should. You absolutely should.
Oh goodness. Well, yeah, it'll work perfectly fine for this because the actual cells themselves are just going to be 2D, but we'll make them into 3D. Okay. Oh, I don't want search. Sorry.
So use a lot of A lot of CSS Grid in here.
That you're setting up?
Yeah, so let's see, we're gonna have 8 columns and like a number of rows. Let's say 6, just because there's 5 on the screen, but of course that goes lower and lower. So we'll make it 8 by 6. And so we could say grid template columns. And then I actually like to use the repeat syntax for this. So like that would be 8, and then I don't know, I'll just do 1 FR. FR stands for French.
Yes.
1 French.
And so our grid background, we're actually gonna just have it span the full thing. So we'll do that with grid area 1, -1, 1, -1.
I don't know what each of those mean.
Yeah, I don't either. But let's see if that works. So we'll do background red.
So Voktech Holik in the chat asks, does Splitting.js keep things accessible and SEO friendly? I would say it does.
So for text, that's a bit of a problem. There's an issue in the GitHub that you can check out and read through. There's some suggestions for ways to improve that, and I'm going to try and bake that into the library, so it's not anything that you have to think about. But basically, I don't think there's any text splitting libraries out there like GSAP's split text plugin or anything like that actually doesn't affect the accessibility too much. But basically, every character has to be split up into a span, and so some screen readers mess that up and don't do that well. For the grid effect that we're about to do, this isn't it isn't an accessibility concern at all or anything. So let's just do that for now to give us a specific width and height. So grid background. So there you go. Sure.
Cool.
All right, so my grid area is not working right there. Let's see if that.
I love the name of this interior design project website is Cup Basin, because we like to put our own I almost said our own splits, our own spin on things, and so that could easily be keyframers. Just thought of that.
Oh yeah, the name in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
In fact, I'll make some areas for that. So we have, counting. Actually, maybe not areas. Because that would be very tedious.
Yeah, I think we'll just target it directly in a bit. But okay, so
no, I'm making areas.
So
this will be fun.
So for the grid background, to get it to span all the way across, we could use just position absolute and top 0, left 0, 100%, 100%, blah blah blah. But with CSS Grid, we can just specify the grid area. This is the column, and then this is the row. So we want it to start out on the very first one, and then the this -1 means all the way to the end, the very last cell, basically. So we've got our grid background spreading the whole thing, and what we're going to do is now split that with splitting. So we'll say target grid background by cells. Image, we don't want to specify because we don't need an image. And then calls 8, row 6, and let's see if that works. Oh geez. Let's see if that works. Okay, yes. So as you can see, splitting is done its work. Down here we have all these different little cell elements here that are filling up everywhere. 8, 6. It doesn't look like we have all the elements we need though. This call's not doing anything.
Man, this grid template area is this tedious. Why didn't you stop me? That's okay, it works.
All right, so calls, is calls not the right value? Pretty sure that's what it is, but maybe it's columns. Just calls. Cell calls. So what we'll do here is one of the things we needed to include was this splitting cells CSS. If you're going to do a grid effect like this, basically we've got the cell inner and the splitting cell. So what we can do is add a outline to those, or a border rather, border solid pixel red, and then we'll take off the background.
I've been using grid area a lot. I find it super, super useful. Especially when like thinking about like how with CSS things start at 1, they don't start at 0. It's super confusing. So grid area just helps smooth those weird inconsistencies. Cool. These keyframer things are perfect.
Yeah, that is coming together. Okay, why is this not working?
Sort of.
I need to open up debug mode in the tab. Let's see, open a new window. There we go. All right. Question in the chat: how compatible is splitting JS? So it's meant to mostly be used in native JavaScript, but there's some notes in there about how to use it with React and other things. It can be a little weird working in like JSX land, just because it's JSX. They don't like direct DOM manipulation.
They don't. To a fault.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Okay, why is everything being weird right now? Why, David? Why?
What did I do?
You didn't do anything. You're
all right.
Fine.
I usually do. I'm usually the doer of undoings.
Cell. So yeah, that's it. Background blue.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. So let's say background black for now. I don't know why. Let's say cell inner.
I guess I should make this color white. Color white. There we go. Let's see our keyframers. Boom.
Sizing. Content box.
All right, so we have a heading. Let's see what else we have in this funky design. We have a header. We have a section. So, header and a section. Just going to be semantic with those because I'm being lazy. And then we have a section. So our header and section, background color.
Okay, yeah. I think that gets us, yeah. All right, so now you can see in debug mode all the little cells that we have. Inner, why is that full size? These should be relative. I think maybe I'm missing a little bit of CSS. Cell position relative.
So how does splitting work exactly with cells?
So that's That's what I'm working on. So they're generated elements. So the way that you're inserting the background there, we're actually going to need to change that. So right. So I'll get on that in a minute. I'm just trying to get set up here for all of this. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of animation in. Grid in.
That's what we advertise. For your money back.
Keyframes. No money back guarantees.
Okay.
Hola, enemigos. Hey, Suxo. Thanks for coming. All right. Let's do from transform. Let's say scale x 0, just for now. Okay, working. Scale y 0. All right. Not sure why all of my cell inners.
So Amir asks, out of topic, but what do you guys think about Recoil.js? Have you heard of Recoil.js?
I recoil whenever I hear about JavaScript. Does that count?
Same. Anyway, for those who don't know, Recoil.js is a new state management library for React. It's not meant to replace anything. In fact, it is not the official state management library for React. It's just something that a team at Facebook made that was useful for them, and they decided to release it under the Facebook umbrella of things. Now, keep in mind, Facebook releases a lot of open source libraries, and so Recoil is just one of them. Recoil works very similar to MobX, in which it keeps track of just things that depend on other things, and it only updates when needed. So it's pretty cool in that regard. It's meant for high performance state updates. However, it is another one of those libraries that's very much change state whenever you want driven. It's not events driven like Redux would be or Xstate. Instead, you have to manually just change everything, and that's not very safe, but it is high performance. So you could theoretically build something on top of Recoil that does handle that. But yeah, Recoil is interesting. We will not make any animations with Recoil though. So it's just,
yeah. I have no strong opinions on deep React stuff. I wait for the stablest UIs or the stablest interfaces on all of that before moving on. Question in the chat, Robinson, would this be more easy with Canvas? No.
Not exactly. Yeah.
Canvas is a fantastic tool, but it is a pain in the butt to work with unless you're using a UI, a library or something like that.
Especially for dynamic content like this,
right? And responsive too. You've got to add resize handlers and handle all your junk that way. So that's not super great. All right, so I've got the animation working basically.
Cool, we're done.
Yeah, nailed it. But if you notice in the original here, it staggers in, right? So after that grid, so they're all coming in. They're actually coming in from the other direction, so that's easy enough to change.
Also, we have some color mismatch. Yeah.
5, 0.
Or well, I have those grays, so
that's cool. All right, so
we could fix that.
What we want to do here is Splitting.js. The whole kind of concept is CSS variables added to things. So we've got our call index and row index and cell index. So call index is the current column, row index is the current row, and then cell index is just the overall cell number, essentially from top left to bottom right. So using that those CSS variables, we can say animation delay calc. Got to calc it. 0.2 seconds. That's going to be too much. Let's just say 0.1 seconds times our CSS variable of cell index, because it just staggers across like that. Once David's done, there we go. Both.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right.
Domino effects.
So where are you setting those? Okay. I'm going to take off that background color of those for now, so that we have, there we go. Yeah. Translate y percent. It kind of does. Yeah, it kind of does that move. Go.
So now the hard part is the math of when does it all finish? When is every single last square done?
Yeah, and that's calculatable, because it's basically,
it's been a long time since I took a math class, so
all right, so we've got our easing up here. So let's go ahead and say grid delay, and this is going to be when the grid animation starts, because we've got the line animation that we'll work on next. So grid delay, we'll say that's 1 second. We're not going to use that now. And then content delay, we will say, so we know we have 8 rows. 8 columns with 6 rows, and then we'll do cell delay here. We'll do 0.1 second times var cell delay. All right, so if you want to add an animation to the content for coming in, you can use that content delay variable there.
I was just said 2 seconds, but we should probably use content delay.
Yeah. Oh, and we also need to add in var grid delay plus that. And it's usually best to go ahead and wrap that in a calc, just depending on where you use it. Yeah, nice. So Amar asks in the chat, how would you approach stagger animation without CSS variables? You can use Sass loops, and that's fine, but you're probably going to run into trouble with that.
Yeah.
Delay. You can also, just use JavaScript basically. But the great part about splitting is, yes, it is JavaScript, but its main purpose is just to give those CSS variables to elements to be used in your CSS animations. So it's not it's not a drain on performance or anything like that, because they're all just applied to each element.
Yeah. Keep in mind with Sass and generating those staggers, you could get really, really large files really quickly. So, because essentially what you're doing is you're hard coding. In a way, you're hard coding every single one of those delays. So that's a dangerous thing to do, and I've run into many problems doing that.
Let's see,
graduation. So, yeah.
1 second.
I love what Ross Leash said. These videos are awesome because I feel like I could take inspiration from any stage of these animations and make something that would make my projects 100% better alone. That's our goal, to teach you something and to inspire you.
Right. Yes. All together, these animations are really cool, but we try to include all these little pieces to each of them that are going to make it fun and easy to integrate into your project. For sure.
So each of these cells, do they have like I'm sure you covered this, but do they have like a CSS variable thingy for X and Y that I could use?
Yes. So let's see if you.
Or could we just color the background directly using CSS Grid and it'll split it up for us?
Not quite. Because of the way it's animated, the background needs to be on the cells individually. So what I'm going to recommend here is so we'll do. Let's look at the. So in our cell grid, we'll do cell nth child. Let's see.
Have fun with that math.
Yeah. What's the
for like the yth or so? Wait, these cells you're telling me they don't really have a they have like a call index and a row index. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, they do. But how are you going to use that to?
I will show you. Okay. You're going to hate me because it's so terrible. We could say, for example, if I want to target the one on row 0, column 5, I could say dot cell style.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad, but it will work. I promise you.
Yeah. All right. So, while David's doing
this is your fault.
Well, it's something where, you could add a data attribute in there, but it starts getting so messy with all the attributes. One thing the cell grid is actually meant to do is help you to split up images. There's some cool examples of that in the demos.
Yes, it works.
That I have. You got it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
See that pink one on the bottom? It works. Okay, cool. I'm totally making this into a mix-in.
Oh, that's great. But it is meant for allowing you to split images. I don't know how many people actually use it for that, splitting images. But there's some really cool.
Don't do this at home.
It's cool to do it at home. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, Amar had asked in the chat, what about browsers that don't support CSS variables? In that case, just don't serve them the animation or serve the animation without a delay. It's progressive enhancement. The CSS variables are there to enhance the experience. So it's totally okay for that not to happen in most cases. So just don't even worry about it. So yeah, this is a fun example of the splitting cells functionality where it's powering kind of these image hover bits. So yeah, it's meant to work with images. So if we wanted to, we probably could accomplish the different colors there with like background image, and then the way that it's animated in would do that. But I don't feel like doing that right now, so David is going to do a Sass mix-in for us for coloring specific cells.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck on that. So I'm gonna keep going while David is doing that. I'm gonna add in our little replay script. This is just a short little snippet that I've added that whenever we click, it'll just replay the CSS animations so that we don't have to reload each time. Where's the slide up? Okay.
Hopefully that works.
There we go. I don't know why you're
while I'm futzing around. Okay, cool. Yeah. We're targeting 0, 1. All right, this is great. So I just did a thing where we have, all right, I have to think row 0, column 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I could say row 0, column 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let's see what happens. Because of the way that Sass does lists, that should work, and it did work. Because I'm like, I don't want to copy and paste this for every single cell, so I made it so it allows lists.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that makes it much easier.
Cool. So we're going to have that colored, and we're also going to have, which other one's colored? We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2. So columns 0, 1, 2, and rows, I think it's like 5 and 6. So we could have like double lists.
Nice.
And so hopefully, oh, did I go one too far? Yeah, I did. So 4, 5. I forget that you're doing the 0 index.
Sorry, I'm here. Hopefully that's better. So yeah, great. That's incredible. So yeah, that's a way to get some nice colored cells there. So I'm gonna lower the delay on the cells there.
Thank you.
So there's a little less of a stagger, and then let's look at doing some grid lines, shall we?
Yes.
So I'm gonna say target, grid background, and grid lines. We'll just add 2 targets in there so that they'll both get split, as they say. And then whoa, did you do that? Okay.
Yep, because it does turn white.
Yeah.
Like briefly.
Okay, so we'll do grid lines all the way at the end here. Always try and group everything. So grid lines, we'll say cell background red, just so we can make sure that we have grid lines in place. No, we do not.
I'll take care of these white cells.
I trust you. All right, so refresh. Okay, we do have grid lines there. Cell grid. Okay. Oh, we have to use our grid. Let's do that. All right, so do grid lines and grid background because we want them to cover the full thing, and then grid background. Do that. Here we go. And now everything should be red. Haha, great.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. Just a test. Okay. All right. So let's say order right. So white.
Content delay, you called it? For the
yes.
animation?
Yes.
Oh. Maybe the cells should go faster.
Like the actual animation or the delay? Both?
Just how fast they're...
Speed that up.
There we go.
Yeah, probably still want a little more of a stagger there, but the actual animation be a little faster. Cool. All right. Yeah, it's coming together nicely. Just trying to get the cells set up correctly for this. Okay, so let's just say with pixel background
Oh, there's a cell inner. That's convenient.
Yes.
So what's that for?
So that is actually what powers the image animation.
Oh, okay.
So inside, that's actually sized to the full container. If you're looking at that, that's sized to the full container, and it makes it so you can have like a split up image because it's overflow hidden inside each of the little cells there. So all right, so I've got our grid lines, the vertical ones at least. So what we can do there is just say animation.
There we go. Okay. Coolio.
Line duration. Delay or use. Let's go back up here. So grid duration, grid delay. So we'll say line duration. 1 second. Line delay 0 seconds.
Perfect.
Let's just try that. All right. So coming back down here. All right, our cell got width. All right, so what we're gonna do here. So the way the cell layout is actually working. So we've got our cell grid, and it's using grid template, and the actual grid. Let's see. Yeah, it's just distributing those along that grid. So we can do for that line animation. Let's see. Okay, for the first part.
So Geek Me Good asks in the chat, what would you recommend for bridging the gap between Css variables and React? So in general, you want to use CSS variables as much as you can. Consider Sass variables as just static values that are never going to change. So if you have a value that you just want to reference anywhere without needing to read from JavaScript or without needing to access anything from JavaScript, then keep it as a Sass variable. Well, if you do, then that's where CSS variables come in. So now you could also set CSS variables within Sass and using Sass variables as well. Not directly, but just the way that you author your style sheets. But you have to use the pound curly brace thing in order to interpolate those Sass variables inside. Otherwise, you're going to get the literal Sass variables, so like $color. And you don't want that because that's not really useful. So just make sure to interpolate that.
Let's see. Okay, my line animation is not working. Do you have any thoughts as to why that is? Let's go into debug view.
Your line animation. All right, let's
at the very bottom there. Let's see. Oh, that's the grid background lines. Look at a cell and see.
Okay, so we have line in, line delay, from transform scale y 0.
Yeah, does anything look off with that? It doesn't look. Maybe my animation declaration is off.
Let's see. You have a line duration. You have a line durée. There, line durée. Yeah, there you go.
I'm just taking off the variables to see if that okay. Change.
Because it's scaling in the wrong direction.
No.
Yeah, it's scaling by y, right? Don't you want x?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, because we do want scale y, at least for the initial.
Okay, well, it does look like it's working. So
yeah, it is now. For maybe something's off with my variables. If you want to check those out.
yeah.
Oh, it's var easing. That's probably all it is.
Do we go back and forth between ease and easing?
Yeah, all the time.
Oops.
So let's see if that fixes anything.
So I'm guessing that the grid lines is going to have an overall animation too, right? Because we have a
actually, yeah,
animation.
this should be on the
yeah
here.
So grow y, or sorry, we'll call it
lines in.
Yeah.
There we go, because that's what we want for the overall line effect.
Right.
And then for the lines themselves, we don't want that.
Well, so scale. Oh no! At first, it goes from 0 to 0, and then it goes from like what 0 to 1,
1 0,
and then 2. Well, I guess we don't need the 2. Here, let's try that. Okay, it does that, but pretty fast. So let's. I'm going to pump up the line duration to like 3.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Kind of. What did you do?
Well, so okay, so it's growing by y, but I think my problem is if I scale 0, the x, it just doesn't show it all.
Right.
So I have to scale 0.00001. 00001.
Something like that.
No, it's exactly that. I did the math. It's not that. It's a bit too small.
Okay. Well, so one of the things here, so
okay, that works. Maybe still a bit too small, but
yeah, it's close. Yeah. So what I was gonna do is transform the cells themselves, so they're overlapping.
Hey,
but
you can do that.
The math might be a bit much. Let me see. Distance. So let's do cell width is var call total divided by, wait, no, sorry. It's 100% minus call total to position absolute left index times our cell width. Uh-oh.
Hey, thanks, Omar, for the they say that we are truly impressive and we are great.
I just seem to have lost my monitor. Hold on. I can't see anything.
We do appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. My monitor died. There we go. What in the world? All right, fun.
All right, so this header animation.
Check.
Really
check.
Fair content delay.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
I hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm adjusting audio settings. All right. 0. let me make sure I'm using the right variables. Call total, call index.
Yeah, the grid is interesting because it's it's like 3 separate animations. We get the vertical lines, or like single vertical line, many vertical lines, and then the horizontal lines.
Yeah, I might split that up. Take off that intro animation just so I can get alignment of these position absolute. Save and check this out in debug mode. So we're looking at grid lines. This, let's see, computed. Left is 0 pixels. That's not what we want. So let's see,
My duration.
Percent divided by. The one thing I don't care for about CSS variables is debugging their values, like trying to figure out what do this left index.
I should really take care of why the headers are the headers are popping out.
Yeah, they're peeking out for me. I'm not sure.
I think that's because I don't have a height specified on the span, so they're just taking up whatever height they are. And since I'm only transforming it down by 100%, it's like, oh, I don't have to go all the way down. So that's a problem.
Is that? That should be, let's see, it was 100% divided by 8. Should be about 12.5%. Is that not?
I'm not a big fan of, in the original animation, the white cells were not directly aligned to where the text is. I'm guessing for some sort of stylistic reason, but
yeah, I don't care for that. you can align them.
I shall.
Why is that working? Okay, it works there. It's not working with a calc though.
So what's going on right now?
I'm trying to get these aligned in a certain way, but that requires using position absolute or index. Okay, there we go. See that?
Yes. Perfect.
All right, so now we can do from transform, translate x, calc, var. Sure, that's still working. That one first.
Wow, we're going CSS variable crazy here.
A little bit.
I wonder if this is the most CSS variables we've used on an episode.
Nah. All right, sorry. Gotta do a little debugging here. Let's see. Center. Oh, okay, that's what it is.
Oh, I got that fun CodePen.io refuse to connect screen.
Yeah, it comes up every now and then. All right, I'm not sure why that's not working. Yeah.
So what's not working?
So I'm trying to get the inner element. Oh, okay. I know what I can do. So let's just do before to with 2 pixels background red at 100%. And take that off and that off. That off. Gonna do it.
Let's see. My favorite part, choosing a decent font. Trying to figure out what they have. That one.
Not able to get these right.
All right, adding a Google font. It's Russo1, which I've never used before, but looks like a fun font to use.
All right, let's
see how it looks. Not bad. We can take it. Let's see, heading. Normal. We don't want it to be too bold. We just wanted a nice wide font, so Russo Sans seems to do the trick. There we go. How's your line situation?
It is not great. I'm gonna just simplify here, and we'll go down to just
Funny enough, if the screen is small enough, then you get this cool effect where keyframers is cut off on the top, which it's artistic.
red. And all right. All right, we'll do that to just simplify things. Be an exercise for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a pretty cool effect.
Yeah, as long as we get some line thing working, I think we're good. And then, of course, having the lines fade out at the end too. I think it does that while the grid cells are coming in. So, yeah. So over here, we could have like opacity 1.
Well, they don't actually fully fade out. They are still kind of there.
Yeah. Well, that's just not fading out at all.
Kind of strange.
I think they fade out.
Yeah, they are. They're just more present. All right. Yeah, that's not perfect, but that's mostly that effect. I think there's a better way to do that, but without diving in too deep. There we are. Yeah, and one thing I did, I also simplified down to just having 8 columns in 1 row for that. So we could do another one for the vertical lines as well, if we wanted. But that's going to be basically the same deal there. What I wanted to do was use the CSS variables to basically translate everything into its proper place, or into the center, and then spread them out from there. Just having some real trouble with the layout and things of that. So
yeah,
we'll leave that be. Anything else you wanted to touch on with this one?
I think that's all right. So let's see. The lines come in, the grids come in. That could probably be a little bit faster, but we could adjust that. Yeah. Yeah. It feels about right.
Mm-hmm. Close. And delay.
Feel pretty happy with that. There's a bit of a weird delay before keyframers shows up.
Yeah, so you have white cell duration added in there with the content delay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But that might be adding an unintentional delay. So if we look at the span is coming in contents delay. So we could probably get rid of this white cell duration thing, because both of those should
that's
ideally
what I just
be.
did, and it
Okay.
they were overlapped.
That's fine. Works for me.
Okay. Something we can do here.
Oh, I know why. Okay. Now it should work. I have another variable called line time. So it's like you have your total duration of the line, right? Which is like 2 seconds. So line time would say, you know what, pretend that's 1 second. Because it's supposed to overlap. Whoa, what happened with the
I'm working on it.
All right.
I'm trying to get we should have a line on each edge, basically. So
the n+1 problem.
yeah, I need to make it 10. Maybe. I can't tell if that's right. No. Justify content. Items. I think this is our most exciting episode yet. All right. We'll leave that off, and I'll try to clean that up a little bit. Or actually, let's do.
There we go.
Sure.
So we just had that one on the right. Oh, so the answer to this is you want the total width to be n+1. So right now it's 8, so you want to make something 9 wide, and that's usually how that works. But that's
Well,
don't worry about that.
Problem solved.
Display none.
Well, display none takes it out of the flow. Has visibility hidden? Not.
All right, that looks like it works.
Did it? Oh, geez. All right. Well, we'll mess with that some more. Oh yeah. And I think that will do it. Yeah, there we go.
Wow, it fades out pretty quickly. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. I bumped the opacity up just a little. All right, I think we can go into some key flections here.
Sure.
So let's see. Let me just pull a few things up. If you're watching live, thanks for sticking with us. We're about to do the animation overview, and the way we're doing it now, we're gonna actually split that out, and it's gonna be its own little video. We're gonna try that out, and we'll still have this full live stream if you want to go back and watch it, or if you're more curious about the whole process. So stick with us. We're just gonna do some kind of intro-y stuff real quick, but we'll jump very quickly into the animation overview. So stay tuned. Are you ready, David?
I am.
Okay, here we go. Hola, amigos, and welcome to Keyframers, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shashaw.
And I'm your host, David Khorshid, also known as @DavidKPNO.
Right now, we'll be giving a quick overview of the techniques used to build this animation. Our show is supported by our sponsors, CodePen at codepin.io, CSS Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you. You can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers. The links are available below.
Yeah, and hey, you could also watch the full process of us creating this animation from scratch right after this, with more details about each technique. So stay tuned. And if you have any questions, please ask us in the chat or leave a comment below, and we're going to be happy to answer them.
That's right. So today's fancy grid animation is powered by Splitting.js. We'll get into that a little bit. But here is our kind of animation inspiration that has stopped playing for some reason. So it's got this nice grid building animation, and then the content is sliding in. So we took a few liberties with it here. But have accomplished the same basic principle. So let's see. What do you think we should dive into first here?
Let's have an overview of splitting.
Okay. So Splitting.js is a library I wrote primarily for text animations. So you can see that here. Basically, it applies Css variables to text or other elements. We're going to use a little used feature of it for this animation called splitting cells. In the documentation, it breaks that down, but basically it creates elements, creates individual cells, and gives them the proper indexes in the CSS, so that you can target them specifically. So here's all of the lines. We've got eight columns, starting at 0 all the way to 7, and we can use those, or we build those through splitting here. So we're targeting the grid lines element. We're splitting it by cells with 8 columns and just 1 row. The grid background, we do the same thing, but it's 8 columns and 6 rows, and that's how we get all of those individual little grid pieces. So we are including a little bit of helper CSS. Splitting has a splitting cells.css that basically just establishes the grid and makes sure all of those cells are where they're supposed to be based on their index and everything, and gives you some extra CSS variables you can use. So we have our grid lines and grid background spanning the entire element using our grid layering kind of trick. And then for grid background, let's do the grid lines first. That's a little bit simpler. We're just animating that in basically from a small X scale to with 0 height with scale Y, and then in the middle of the animation it's full height, so the lines grow up and then they spread out, and the lines themselves have an animation on them, mainly just to fade them out and to make them a little bit thicker right at the start, so they're easily visible. The grid background is slightly more complex, but not too bad. So we have an animation on each of the cells, this grid in animation. So we've got a rotate X that gives it a 3D transform. That's this kind of animation there. A scale Y, just so that they don't actually appear until they start animating in. With a 3D transform, even if you rotate something so that it's perfectly facing the camera, you can still see little bits of it. And we're applying our perspective and the 3D kind of context here to the full grid background, so that you get kind of that 3D, true 3D effect, where these are a little bit more angled and these are a little bit more angled, but in the center they're a little bit more dead on. And then the translate Y just kind of gives them a little bit of like fly in movement, so they're rotating in a little bit like that. And the real special kind of magic of the effect is by this animation delay here. So we've got a few variables up at the top that's just helping us coordinate the animation. We want to delay everything in the proper way. So grid delay and grid duration are the main things there. Grid delay plus each of the cells has a cell delay times the cell index. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That just going down the line, that helps them stagger in from top left to bottom right. And those, this is a variable applied by splitting. You can see that cell index there. And so that helps us stagger them in. Would you like to explain how you colored them, David?
Yes, I would. So coloring these is not quite straightforward, but we were able to use a trick because splitting applies the CSS variables directly on the cells. You could actually target that just like you target any other attribute on an element. So we could target style and look for the row and the column. So it's supplying it by column index and row index. Now, normally these would have a double dash, but whatever, we don't really need those. So we're just looking for that column index and that row index. And so what this does is it takes like, let's say 1, 2, 3 for the cell, and let's say 2, 3 for the row. And so you're going to apply it to column 1, row 2, column 1, row 3, column 2, et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically going to combine all of these columns and rows and apply whatever is inside that cell mixin right into the content. And yeah, maybe in the future version of splitting, we'll actually have data attributes that we could target instead. But for now, this is how you could do it.
Yeah. And so the splitting cells is meant to handle like splitting up images like that. That's kind of the main purpose of it. So we could have done this with like a background image. This was just a little bit quicker of an approach for right now. So there are other ways to accomplish that, but yeah, that's a little nice Sass mix in for you there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then our actual content animation, we mainly just did that heading. The same principle kind of applies to all the other stuff, but you did the let's see,
the slide-in effect.
Right. So the text itself is just a slide up animation, and it's got the content delay on there. Just so that it's coordinated with the rest of the animations, and that's just established up at the top, and that's just overflow hidden on the parent plus a translate Y on the actual inner content that's in this span, so that it gives that cutoff text in effect. But the actual white to black, what did you do for that, David?
So the whites to black, we were also targeting with that mix-in. You could see we have a cell to black mix-in, and what that's going to do is it's going to add a pseudo element, and that pseudo element is black, and we just tell that pseudo element to slide up once once all the content comes in. So we're doing some sort of choreography here. It's not as straightforward as some of our previous episodes, which I do encourage you to check out to see a more reasonable approach to doing choreography. But for this, it suffices.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of little interesting techniques that you can use and apply. There's probably some better ways to go about setting this all up, or handling the coordination here, but we're showing a pure CSS way to do it, other than a little helper JavaScript.
You could write all these yourself, but it's tedious.
Right, and that's the thing. Splitting is mainly there just to do all this setup for you. It's not handling the animation. It's not going to do the animation for you, but it gives you the tools that you need to do that. So yeah, that's the fancy grid animation for the most part. Our own interpretation of it. So yeah, anything else you wanted to cover, David?
I think that's all. We also made use of CSS Grid. So of course, this being a grid animation, besides splitting, we have this grid template areas where I used it. It looks cryptic. It looks like something straight from the Matrix, but I used it to sort of figure out where all the things go. So
you know,
and I ended up not needing this header section, but whatever, it's fine.
Well,
It's cool.
now that we're now that we're wrapping everything up, probably the better approach to this would be having all of these instead of the way that splitting, kind of nests the elements inside. Either with like subgrid would have been ideal, but having just all of these animations in kind of this parent element that has the actual CSS grid. Just having all of those cells within there and then using CSS Grid to place them in the proper place, which is essentially what's happening with the cell grid element. It does have a CSS Grid on it right there. But if we had those elements within the parent grid itself, we could have targeted things by the template area and all that kind of stuff. Now David's just messing everything up for fun.
Well, yeah, that should be top, and this should be PTM. Yeah. So this is just a visual of how that looks, and this is why grid template areas is so useful, because you have a visual map in your CSS itself. It's really cool how they did the syntax. You could lay it out like this and have a mini visual of how your app is supposed to look.
Yeah. Super, super handy. I dig it. All right. Well, don't forget this. If you're just watching this short summary, we have the full live process of how we built this from scratch. So check that out. We dive into the techniques a little bit more, and it might make a little more sense. But yeah, check that out.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this episode, by the way, and you'd like to see more, you could support us by pledging at patreon.com/keyframers.
That's right. And we have more video content available at youtube.com/keyframers. So subscribe to our channel, and so much for watching. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.